you probably are gonna need some of these things if you're trying to go on some big backpacking trip. I worked at REI for about 5 years. It's a great job. I worked mostly in the what we called soft goods. So it was all about the clothing and the shoes and that type of thing. But I was cross-trained throughout the store. So I know a bit too much about shoes, clothing, and like backpacking stuff. And I just want to nerd out and word vomit all that knowledge onto you. On top of that, I also have done at least 1,000 miles on the Appalachian Trail, about 200 miles out in Colorado, and just some odds and ends throughout the continental United States. There's a ton of people out there that have a ton more miles than I do, but everyone has their own experience and they value different things. Me, I'm a bit of a princess. I like to have a really enjoyable hike, and I also like to have a really enjoyable sleeping time. So, you know, I like to think I took a balanced approach, but hey, if you're one of those like diehard ultralight folks, more power to you. I envy you. I envy those like 10, 15 pound packs that have like 2 or 3 days worth of food in them. That's not me. I'm one of those like 25 to 30 pound packs that have 3 to 4 days worth of food type people. So I'm not gonna go over weights or anything. All the stuff I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna try to like name out by name. You can use AI or whatever to try and figure out what my weights were. Just from way back when, I think my winter base weight was probably, and when I say base weight, it's everything except food and water. I think my winter base weight was probably around like 13 to 15 pounds. And then my summer base weight was probably around like 7 to 10 pounds, somewhere in there. So that's, again, all the clothing, all the accoutrement, just empty water and no food in the pack. So food and water add up a ton of weight. Every liter of water is about 2.2 pounds. I carried roughly 2 to 3 liters of water with me. At 3 liters, that's basically a 10-pound jump, right? So you kind of get the drift. So without further ado, let's get into what's in my little bag of tricks here. So anyway, if you're going on a trip, odds are you're gonna need something to carry all your stuff. And for me, back in 2019, it was this lovely instrument right here. This is my backpacking backpack. It has many, many miles on it. I think I've clocked at least 1,000 just in this pack alone. And well, I can tell you a little bit about it. So story time. Back in 2019, and you can see it right here. Let's see if the camera picks it up. I went on the Appalachian Trail. It's probably 2,198 miles now, but then it was 2,192. And on a significant portion of that trip, I carried this. This is my Zpacks Arc Haul 62 liter pack. It used ripstop nylon at the time. I believe the newer ones are made out of Dyneema. But I loved this pack. It carried everything. My food, my water, my shelter. It was my livelihood. It was amazing. And I remember getting it because it had this cool feature right here. These little stays that they bend, and it kind of creates this trampoline right here. It's so cool. It just lets your back breathe, and trust me, it can get sweaty out there. So I took this pack, and during this time I said, I'm going to go on this trip and I'm not going to get off of it until it's not fun anymore. And goodness, there were some not fun moments, but that's a different time, different place. But I am trying to say, hey, you should go on a trip. You should go on a big thing because it's one of the best experiences you can do. And if you're like me, you should probably go on a backpacking trip. Probably the second thing that you're really gonna need is something to sleep in. Now, you can kind of fall in two camps, right? You have the traditional backpacking people, which are now starting to come, like the new ultralighters, if you will. And then you have these ultralighters who take it to just a level above everything possible. Like they're sleeping in plastic tarps. They're not really using a sleeping pad. It's all foam, but I digress. So the thing you're probably gonna need most of all is something to sleep in. And this is my old REI quilt. Why quilt over a sleeping bag? It's just a little bit lighter. When you have a sleeping bag, the insulation in the back doesn't do anything for you because, well, how these things work, let me take this out real quick, is it's puffy. And it's this air puff that acts as like an insulator. It traps the air, and your body heat warms the air, and you get a warm sleeping bag. So, you know, if you're crushing the insulation in the back, like in a sleeping bag, it's not gonna do anything for you. So I guess that's the first thing. The second thing, and because I'm a bit of a princess when it comes to sleeping, is for me an inflatable sleeping pad. I've used the foam pads. You've probably used the foam pads. They suck, but they do have a purpose. They make great doormats. They can add insulation. But this is my Nemo tensor pad, regular wide. And the reason why I need the wide, I just like the extra space. I'm not tall. I'm like 5'8", 5'9", never 5'10", maybe on a good day with really tall shoes. I could dream, but no, I need this because it allows me to lay down and I can side sleep. It's got 3 inches of just nice, cushy air, and you can just pass out in an instant. And it comes with a pump sack. You don't need to spend all your time huffing and puffing. It's just like 5 to 10 puffs and you're golden. Love this thing. The next thing I'd like to talk about is what to sleep in. And a lot of people, this can get pretty divisive. In the backpacking world, there's like 3 main things you can do, and I've tried them all. The first and most common one is a tent. The next is a hammock, and hammocks are great. Love my hammock people. The third is a bivvy. Not many people do bivvies anymore, but they're out there. They're in the extreme ultralight folk, of which I am not. And between the 3, I think hammocks are amazing. They're just not for me. I can't do it. But a tent, a good tent, a light tent, yes, that is for me. And when it comes to a tent, it doesn't really matter what you pick, as long as it's waterproof and it's ideally at least a 2-person tent. Backpacking tents are notoriously small. Basically, whatever the size, the number is next to it, subtract 1, that's what it actually is. And if you're like me, you like to keep your gear inside as well, so that's the other reason. But yeah, this is my Zpacks duplex. It's a 2-person tent, and I do realize that some of the stuff I'm talking about is expensive. Just so you know, like, I saved up and I got these, and I definitely fall into the buy once, cry once category when it comes to outdoor gear, because I'll be honest, I've had other tents and they were all trying to be this tent, and they were inferior versions of this tent. And if I had just bought this tent instead of all the other tents, I would have actually saved money. So lesson learned, don't be like me, do something different. But yeah, it's a great tent. It's a tarp tent. Basically, you need your trekking poles to set it up. For those of you that don't want to take the leap and get something like this, trust me, I understand. It's honestly not worth it, because I spend so much time wondering if someone's going to take my stuff. Again, it's small, it's light, it's packable, it can be stolen really easily. So, and it's pretty expensive. What I typically suggest instead, get yourself like a Nemo Hornet tent. I'll put some recommendations up on screen as I talk about stuff, but the 2-person tent is relatively affordable. It's pretty lightweight. REI does make their version of it. But the Nemo, I just love Nemo stuff. It's really good, lifetime warranty, and yeah, it's good. Okay, so next up, and this may surprise a couple people, is this. This is the Humble trash bag. Jack, why is there a trash bag in your backpacking kit? Well, these backpacks, some of them can be waterproof, most of them are, plenty are water resistant. I made a rule with myself that I was never allowed to be cold and wet. I could be one or the other. So if it was raining really bad outside, I made a promise to never be cold. And if it was really cold outside, made a promise to never be wet. So this, I use this trash bag basically as a pack liner. I took all the things that we're about to go through today and I just shoved them inside of this thing, inside the backpack. Stuff was never wet. It was glorious. So do yourself a favor, pick up a, basically free trash bag. You can even get it on trail. Something I used in conjunction with the trash bags to make sure my stuff stayed nice and dry is this 3 dry bag system, if you will. It helped me keep my pack organized, and they kind of became little pods that I could just move in and out of the bag, so I kept my stuff organized and I never really lost anything. So that was a plus, because think about it. If you leave something at the campsite and you start trekking for the day, well, you get a mile or two out and you're just like, I don't have my spork, for instance. It's not in my bag. Well, you have to go back and get it because there's no resupply out there. So I'll show you the 3 bags I use. So the first one, and this was the one I used the most, is this blue bag. It's just a standard REI dry bag. You know, you can get dry bags pretty cheap nowadays, but pretty much this one has all of my food stuff in it. So it would have my you know, meals for the week, typically in gallon Ziploc bags. It would have condiments, typically my stove and lighter sometimes, although I did sometimes carry my stove and lighter on the outside of my pack. That was just to help with the rats and the mice and that type of thing. Has some like basic toiletry stuff like wipes and that type of thing. So this one I use the most. It usually sat in the middle of my pack, held all of the food and so on. This is a recent addition to my kit. I clowned on them for years and I still kind of think it's too heavy for what it is, but this is a jet boil. I'll be honest, I would never use one of these, but this was given to me for free by a relative, and every time I use it, it reminds me of them. And you know, there's so many different versions of it now, but when I was a solo backpacker, these were honestly too heavy. You can wait an extra minute or two for water, and you know, you can just use pretty much anything else. I use this, here's what I actually use, I'll put it on screen now, is this GSI outdoor pot. It's great. It fits everything you need to fit inside of it. It's lightweight, it's affordable, it's aluminum. But yeah, so this is my jet boil that I have started to use more because I'm now no longer backpacking solo. I got married, and when we go on little trips, I like to take this because it's a great way to heat up water for 2. Camp food, super simple. It's honestly a lot of boiled anything, you know, dehydrated meals, boiled pasta, you get the drift. Now to go along with cooking, I use a very traditional system. I use the classic Sawyer Big, except it has like a Life water bottle pop-up filter on it. Not filter, cap, just because it makes it easier, more ergonomic for me. And I think they're great. You know, you can bring them back to life. I've had this for a couple years, and when it filled up full of sediment, I just soaked it in vinegar for like 24 hours and the flow rate came back all the way. Still use the old bag. Honestly, I want to get one of the fancy new bags where you can just like, there's like 3 liters and you can just like force it through there. But it's just like investment versus how often I'll use it. You never know. So maybe my next trip. Speaking of water, I'm gonna grab this real quick. This is the little day pack I use from REI. So when I was on the Appalachian Trail, and I'll grab my other backpack in a second. Actually, let me just grab it now. So when I was on the Appalachian Trail, I was a water bottle guy. I would use the Life water bottles and just kind of stick them in the side pocket. And I actually rigged up this little beer koozie right here so that I could just have a water bottle inside of there on my chest, easy access, that type of thing. It's a great system and they work, but the more I've kind of backpacked, I've decided that I'm going to just move away from water bottles entirely and just switch to a water bladder like the one inside this pack. I'm not going to take it out because it's a pain in the butt. And that is also the main reason why people use water bottles and not water bladders. But I switched to using water bladders, and for, well, really a very good reason. It just holds more water, and when you're by yourself, it is more ergonomic just to reach for this little hose and grab it. Another thing I found out is if you have the Sawyer squeezes, if you take off the water bottle cap on them, you'll see this little tiny little hose like nipple attachment, and you can actually put that like right into the top of the hose, and you can actually fill the entire water bladder from the hose in reverse. And when I started doing that, and I didn't need to take the water bladder out all the time, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I'm just going to continue to use these instead. So that is what I did for water on the Appalachian Trail. I did use, like I said, water bottles, but ultimately I just switched to a water bladder for all my trips now. Keeping it clean was not an issue because just after, you know, every major hike or whatever, I just, you know, take it, drop a dish soap in there, give it a little shake, and it's good to go. The next one I used was this one. This one was a little bit bigger. So this one, although it's empty right now, this one would usually house the sleeping bag I showed earlier. It would just be kind of jammed in the bottom right there, and it would also have all of my pajamas and any extra clothing I might have. So I had this rule where I would have hiking clothes and sleeping clothes, and they would never commingle one another, because hey, the last thing you want to do after a long day of backpacking is put on a sweaty shirt all over again. So that was not cool for me, so I separated them out. Like I said, I'm a princess. The third bag, this little yellow one, was my electronics bag and other sleeping accoutrement. So yeah, by using these 3 bags, I was able to keep my food and clothing and like other little odds and ends organized without really too much hassle. All of this would then go in the trash bag. And the unique strength of this, and I'm just gonna point this out real quick. So typically on the Appalachian Trail, you would need a food bag. A lot of the times there is some form of cables or kind of like a metal box that you can just put your food bag in if you're at a shelter. Well, you don't always sleep at a shelter. So what I ended up doing, along with many others, is using the PCT food bag hang method. I don't think I have any footage of that, but I can kind of do a little short or another video about it, because I do want to post more backpacking stuff, more backpacking videos. You know, I now live in North Carolina and not Florida, so it's gonna be easier to do that. So, but as you would hang it up overnight, well, it would get wet, and then you need to take this wet bag and put it in your backpack. Well, by using these dry bags and using this garbage bag as like a layer to keep all the wet out of even the other dry bags, kind of like a plastic shelf, I was able to keep all my stuff dry. Highly recommend. What is in the electronics bag? Well, it's a combination of electronics and sleeping, and it's pretty simple. First off, it has a pillow, and then it also has a second pillow. Why do I have 2 pillows? Well, because these days it's used more for storage, right? But I've had a couple pillows in my life. I used the Sea to Summit Ultralight for a really long time. Absolutely loved it, but I've popped 2 of them. So I'm trying out this Cocoon one. I actually really like the Cocoon one. It's been nice, but Sea to Summit, always in my heart. This Big Agnes one, it was free, so I don't really like it that much. Highly recommend having a camp pillow. They weigh almost nothing. It's gonna make your sleep a lot better. Yes, you could put your insulated puffy jacket or what have you inside of a dry sack and lay on it. Would it do the same thing? Yes. But what if you need that insulated puffy jacket when you need to go pee in the middle of the night? That's what you gotta think about. Them's the facts. Next thing, sleeping mask. You don't really realize how much you need this, but fun fact, when you're in the backcountry and there's a full moon outside, it's really, really bright and your tent is not gonna block all that light. And if you're really light sensitive like I am, having one of these is great. Third up, I did mention the electronics bag. This is my obscenely heavy battery brick. It's a 20,000 milliamps. Honestly, it was great when I was out there because I was recording and needed something to keep my phone, my Garmin charged, and my earbuds. So I didn't need this big brick. This was kind of my luxury item. I never wanted to run out of power. So yeah, that's what I had. Next thing, and this is more of just like a fun thing, and it's kind of intermingled with another thing. Assorted cords and this weird copper looking wire. No, I'm not about to go sell this to get a couple bucks. This is just a string lights, little Christmas lights, so you can plug them into the battery bank. Actually, let's see if they still work. And there we go. So yeah, I can hang these up around camp if I'm just wanting to have a good time. And yeah, it's just fun, little things to make your life more enjoyable. All right, next up in the bag of tricks, and this kind of goes back to the food thing earlier. This is my rope. This is for hanging the food bag, like I mentioned earlier. Again, I'll show a video about this in the future. So that's more or less what was in the electronics bag. At night, I would have my phone charge in here, along with a couple other things, because when it's really cold outside, the cold can leach your phone battery. So putting it in a bag like this can actually really help, and wasn't really worried about fire or anything. If anything else, it would just warm you up. So that was really great. Continuing with the electronics theme, I got two more things to show. First off, this is one of the headlamps I use now. It's the Petzl Active Core. It's the one with the rechargeable battery in it. Again, another reason why I needed that huge power brick. And ooh, it's got some schmoo on it. Anyway, this thing's great. I was a big black diamond person. Honestly, still am. So if given this was just on sale, given the choice, I'd probably go back to black diamond lights. I just prefer them, and I'm more familiar with the ecosystem. So, but it's really good, pretty bright. I think it gets up to like 400 lumens. It's a headlamp. You need one. You should probably have one. Honestly, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get like a 3-pack of headlamps for like 10 bucks, I think. And I have a couple of those around my house. You don't need, again, you don't need any of this expensive stuff. It's categories and basic items. This is my hobby, and I just chose to invest in it a little more because I have things that I value, like, for example, rechargeable headlamp. Next thing, and honestly, I didn't want this. My parents got it for me because they were worried about me. Go figure. This is my Garmin InReach Mini. So what this is, it's a little personal SOS beacon that allows you to send text messages. Got the little SOS button right there on the side, and pretty much you hold that button, you know, folks come running, that type of thing. I've never had to use it, thankfully, but I was on a bike packing trip actually in Colorado, and I did have it this time, and there was a really washed out portion of trail, and I was on my bike and I fell off the trail, and I fell about 10 feet, landed on the backpack I was wearing, and my bike tumbled down the cliff. And it was really, really scary. I could have gotten hurt. I could have probably broken my back, and probably just been seriously injured for life. And it's hard to see on here, but there's a really fine like crack in the screen protector. And whenever I'm about to do something a little sketchy outside, I always kind of take a look at this thing and go, will I need to use this? And it's helped me out sometimes. I have a rule, you know, I never want to do anything that I'm not going to come home from when it comes to the outdoor adventures. So coincidentally, I don't bike pack that much anymore. So yeah, but I think those were the final two major electronics that I wanted to show because they're important. Like I know the new iPhones have like SOS texting and that type of thing, but I think this is better. Yes, it hooks up to the same satellite network that the new iPhones use, but you can actually like text your family and friends on this, and it's not going to be like a huge issue. So there's that. For my tarp tent with Zpacks, I need to use some form of trekking pole to hold it upright. These are my Lakey poles, another gift from a family member. Honestly, Costco sells these great carbon fiber trekking poles for like 30 bucks. You have to kind of time it right, but these are my Lakey trekking poles, and they're great. I love them. I love the ones that have a cork or a foam handle. Cork's great because it insulates and it gets the sweat off your hands, and then foam insulates more. But again, these were just a gift from a relative, and they're really nice. And because of this little adjuster right here, it actually works really well for my tent. So I've just held on to these and switched to these. I used to have a Black Diamond set. Black Diamond, again, my preferred brand when it comes to these type of things. But, you know, you try new things, you grow. And yeah, these were my trekking poles for a significant portion of the trail. This is a sit pad. It is a little piece of foam that you put on the ground to sit on. It's insulated, it's waterproof, and this is probably the backpacker's best friend, because other than that, you would need something like this. This is a pocket chair, or it's, you know, very packable chair. These are great, love them. They're great for like little section hikes and that type of thing. But this weighs like 1.5 pounds, and this is like 2 or 3 ounces. I'm choosing this every time. But hey, if I don't have to go far, I'll take one of these. So this has well over 1,000 miles, maybe even 1,500. And I just love it. It's great. Get yourself one of these. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at REI. I just think, you know, this is another small thing that makes just such a big difference for your experience. So highly recommend you pick one up. And with that, that brings us to our next thing in Mr. Rogers' show and tell. This bag. This bag has two things. It has my tent stakes and it has something equally important as cooking. It's how you deal with the aftermath of cooking. This is a trowel. This is a dirt shovel. Let me be very specific. It's not a poop shovel. It is a dirt shovel because this should never touch. You get it. You're gonna see a lot of ultralighters on the market going, you need to get this little aluminum, tiny little credit card type shovel. I tell you what, they don't work. The handle is too thin and you can't get a good bite on it. So if you're trying to like dig just normal dirt or sand, sure, more power to you. But if you're trying to like get good East Coast, like Appalachian Trail dirt that is like intermingled with years of roots, best of luck to you. You're not going to cut through that. That thing can cut through just about anything. Highly recommend getting a stiffer shovel. Yes, it's a couple ounces heavier. No, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to get across is making good choices in backpacking is vital. You can take a heavier implement and it's going to make your life a lot easier because you're going to save time. I think people get wrapped up in thinking that ultralight is all about picking the lightest things possible. To some extent, that is true. I did that. And I can honestly tell you, it kind of ruins the experience because you're having all of these lightweight implements that kind of suck in some way or another. What I mean by that is there's trade-offs that you have to deal with. Good case is the shovel. Another case is that tiny little BRS stove that everyone goes along. It's titanium, weighs nothing, it's like 2 ounces. And it'll heat water, but you gotta wait a little longer, and it's tiny. When you're thinking about your kit, for me, it was a combination of, I wanna make sure that I can hike really well and be comfortable, and then I also wanna make sure I can sleep really well and be comfortable. Some people choose one or the other. Some people focus on a really comfortable hike and make sacrifices in their sleep setup. I'm not that guy. I wanted to have the most comfortable experience possible because when you're out there for several months at a time, it's your home. You have to make sure you have some amenities for yourself. Otherwise, you're just gonna be achy and cranky all the time. And I had plenty of folks on trail, like in my trail family, just popping ibuprofen or vitamin I, whatever you wanna call it, and it works, but that's not who I wanted to be. Anyway, that's what I've used for the past 1,000 miles in my backpacking career. Every single piece in here I've curated through trial and error. And if you saw anything that interests you, I left links in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on those links or follow the newsletter that I'm putting together. That would be super helpful for me. If you're interested in more outdoor content, please subscribe. I'm gonna be posting more about some things I learned from REI as well as the other trips I've done. I've ice climbed, big rock climber as well, and I've done quite a few bikepacking trips. So if any of that is of interest to you, that stuff's coming down the line. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Take care.